why self-love is on a spectrum. So in my eating disorder recovery, I was going to therapy for a little while, and that helped me break out of certain aspects of my denial about even being in an eating disorder, where certain things I just thought were normal and even healthy, and that helped me break out of that. But where I reached a limit in my therapy with my therapist was at self-love, where it came to a point where it was like, well, now you gotta meditate and like love yourself. And she wasn't wrong, but I could not fathom that. It fell upon deaf ears, and I could not rationalize or conceptualize self-love. It was just like going from such extreme self-hate and controlling activity, negative self-talk, like the level of negative self-talk with eating disorders and the level of self-hate and the words that I use towards myself, so detrimental and so far from self-love that it was, I would scoff, like, be like, what the hell are you talking about self-love? You know, at the same time, I was like, I don't want to necessarily be here in this like dark state. And one of the concepts that helped me a lot at that point was the concept of taking responsibility for yourself and treating yourself like someone that you are responsible for. Jordan Peterson definitely talks about this. I listened to him a lot in college, and I still do, but at that time, his lectures were incredibly impactful for me, a lot of his older ones, and especially this one about treating yourself like somebody that you're responsible for, because it acknowledges the fact that, like, okay, maybe you're not gonna love yourself, and that's okay. That's fine. That is fine. And you tell yourself that that is fine. It's okay not to love yourself fully, but you are responsible for yourself. Okay. You know, you can bite on that. And you start to consider, like, what if I was a little kid? Like, if I was taking care of a kid, I'd be like, we're gonna make sure we eat our snack and do our reading and do some activities and play games before we watch TV and blah 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 blah. All these little things that we would definitely do with if we were taking care of a child, or like a child that we were somehow responsible for, suddenly. And so when we come to look at ourselves through those same lens, treating yourself like somebody, like, okay, I'm responsible for this, like, a person in this body, like, what does that mean? You know, I'm going to do basic self-care, wash my hair, and just putting that, like, the intention of responsibility, though, because the act of care and the act of service to yourself is in and of itself an act of self-love, even if you don't label it like that in your mind. And that's fine. So you just have to keep doing that, because those acts will build up. And then you can progress into perhaps something, a level like finding yourself tolerable, where you're responsible for yourself, and you're going to take care of yourself even if you really can't stand yourself. That's fine. And you come to a point where you find greater comfort and responsibility for yourself. And in comfort comes a little bit of peace, and you could maybe admit that you tolerate yourself, that you don't really like yourself, and you wish that there's all these things to change, and you're really not you're really not that great, but you know, you can tolerate it. It's tolerable. And I feel like that, get comfortable with that, you can move into neutrality and just being really neutral with yourself, and really not having negative or positive necessarily, but neutrality. And that's part of the steps. And being neutral in that moment and not speaking negativity to yourself is better and is an act of love in that time period and in that context. And then we might move into, let's say, self-liking and starting to maybe from neutrality to being like, man, like, do something fun with yourself, take yourself out on a hike, go get into nature and look at some flowers and just like feel a little bit of enjoyment. Like, maybe it's not so bad. Or you have a good day out with your friends and you don't think about your food or body or whatever. You will find moments to be grateful, and where you can say, maybe I kind of like myself. Like, maybe I really don't completely hate myself. Maybe I'm kind of alright, and I kind of like myself. Even if it's just for a day or just for an afternoon, allowing yourself to feel that frequency and to feel that feeling, no matter for how short a time or for how often, as long as you're allowing yourself to feel it, you're opening yourself up to that frequency. And being consistent with that, even if there's up and downs, always being consistent. Self-love is possible. It's possible to reach. And when you open yourself to it and you also ask of the universe, you ask for help with self-love. If it feels impossible, you ask. And the universe might send you some experiences that are going to help you learn that. But it's possible. And when you open yourself to that, that is the first way to attracting the love and everything that you need to heal. You just have to open yourself to it because it's already there. And yeah, you just have to start from exactly where you're at.